Now that you have completed the IELTS Task 1 section of our course, it's now time to move into IELTS Task 2, which is a standard essay. In this lecture, I'm going to provide you the basic information of IELTS Task 2. So let's get started. First of all, it's very important for you to understand what we're going to cover in this section of our course. We're going to start off with an introduction, which is what you're listening to right now. Afterwards, we're going to really get into a scoring analysis. This is a really important part of this course section. Many students want to know, how can I move my score from a 5 to a 7.5, or really a 5 to a 6.5, a 7 to an 8, an 8 to a 9? In the scoring analysis, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that. After the scoring analysis, we'll get into the question analysis. In this lecture, we're going to really explain to you how to understand a question properly. When you're answering the question, what are all of the elements that you need to address? This is going to really help you with getting a really high task achievement, task development score. And then we're going to get into outlining essay questions, thesis statements, writing a complete introduction, writing topic sentences, writing body paragraphs, conclusions, and then you're going to get some live timed essay examples where I'm going to be writing an essay in real time so you can see how it's all put together. So for the IELTS exam, there are two question types that you have. For task number 1, if you're doing the academic exam, it's going to be a chart or a report, or possibly a map or a process. If you're doing the general exam, you're going to have to write a letter, and that could be a formal or informal type of letter. Now, task number 2 is the standard essay, and that's what we're getting into here, the standard essay. This is where you have to prove your ability to write the standard essay that they teach in almost every ESL school around the world. You have to write in a way that's measured up to the standards that the examiners expect when giving a student a score of 7+. So, what is a standard English-based essay? Let's just start with the foundation. What is a standard essay? It's a piece of writing that is used to convince someone of a position that you're going to take. You must use a certain level of reasoning and evidence to score very well. In order for the reader to be convinced, you have to follow a certain logical pattern. There's certain components that you must include when writing a standard English-based essay. Now, of course, I'm going to tell you what those components are, and I'm going to give you examples of each of those components. The examiner wants you to write a 4 to 5 paragraph essay. So there are many types of questions on the IELTS exam, many types of questions. And they all revolve around the same theme of argumentation. They're just different ways of phrasing it or stating it. But for every single question, you're giving your opinion. So, of course, you have the agree or disagree question. And sometimes this is phrased as just a direct agree or disagree. And then at other times, it will be, to what extent do you agree or disagree? Then we have a discuss both sides question, opinion questions, 2 questions embedded. That means that when you have the essay question, they'll have 2 separate questions within it. They may ask you whether something is positive or negative as one question, and then in another question, they will next to that question or right after that question, they'll have a separate question that is asking something different. Then you have a preference question where you have to choose one out of a list, or you may have a paired choice where you have to choose between 2. And also be aware that it's possible to have a question where you have to choose from 3 or 4 items. That was something that they used to do on the exam a long time ago, but be aware, because anything they've done in the past, they can bring up again. Then we have the advantage-disadvantage question, and that could be worded many different ways. It can just be discuss the advantages and disadvantages. It can be discuss the advantages and disadvantages and give your opinion, or it could be compare the advantages and disadvantages. Then we have the cause-solution question or problem-solution question. So these are all of the different question types that you could possibly have to address on the IELTS exam. Now, the good thing for you is that I teach one method, one strategy to address all of the questions. There's no separate writing strategy or writing structure for a problem-solution question. They all are going to use the same structure, the same strategy. All right, so there's something that I really want you to understand about essay writing, and that's any essay, any standard essay is basically written like an inverted pyramid. And that's a very important concept to understand when you're trying to mentally imagine what an essay should be written like. So, when you look at an essay from the overall global perspective of an essay, just look at the shape of how it's written mentally. Because on paper it looks like the same shape, but really it's not. The introduction is more general. So it's like the wide base of the pyramid. And then when you get to the body paragraphs, it narrows down a little bit more. It narrows down just a little bit more. And then when you finally get to the conclusion, it all comes down to a point. When you look at the introduction and the body paragraphs, it's the exact same inverted pyramid shape. With an introduction, you start off with a general statement related to the topic. Then you move down and you narrow it into the specific question that's being asked. And then you wrap things up with a thesis statement. With a body paragraph, it's the exact same inverted pyramid style of writing. You start off with the topic sentence, and then it focuses down into the details, and then a more specific example or explanation of the detail, and then it might wrap up with a concluding sentence for that paragraph, and then for the overall essay, of course, you conclude with a overall conclusion for the essay itself. But that's really what essay writing is. And so you have to think about that. When you're looking at your introduction, is your introduction being written like an inverted pyramid? Are your body paragraphs being written like an inverted pyramid? That's what creates the type of writing that scores very well. So here's our 35-minute, 6-step writing strategy. We have 6 easy steps to follow for you to be able to write the type of essay that's going to score very well. Number 1, you have 2 minutes to analyze the question. This is a critical step, a very important step. This makes sure that you're going to answer all the parts of the question and that you answer it accurately. Number 2, outline the question. After you understand what you have to write because you've analyzed the question, now it's time to do an outline. And I need for you to be able to do your outline in less than 5 minutes. Then we're going to move to step number 3, writing the introduction. The introduction should be written in 5 minutes. There are 3 parts to an introduction: the general idea, paraphrasing the question, and then your thesis statement. Then we have steps 4 and 5, which are your body paragraphs. Each body paragraph, you have 10 minutes to write each body paragraph. And then finally, we're going to wrap things up with the conclusion, which involves your restating your thesis statement and making any possible future recommendation for the reader. So These 6 steps encompass what I want you to do in terms of your writing process itself. Now, you're going to hear me later on talk about, in terms of the introduction and the body paragraphs, that it is possible for you to write your body paragraphs before you write the introduction. Some people like to do it that way because really the body paragraphs are the heart of the score. That's where most of your points come from, the body paragraphs themselves. Also, by writing the body paragraphs first, some people feel like, they'll have a better understanding of their essay and they can write the introduction faster. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but these are our 6 foundational steps to writing a 35-minute essay. And I always want you writing in 35 minutes. I know that you basically have 40 minutes to do it. But if you finish in 35 minutes, that's going to give you 5 minutes to go ahead and really edit and improve your essay. What happens to a lot of students is they write right up to the 40-minute mark, and then they have no time for improving the essay. I want you to have 5 strong minutes to really improve and edit that essay. Take some of those simple sentences and form compound sentences. Include an adjective clause. Find synonyms for some of your vocabulary. You need time to do that. Correct mistakes, right? You need that extra 5 minutes. All right, thank you very much. This completes part number 1 of the introduction. Coming up next, we will complete the introduction with part number 2, and then we're going to go ahead and move forward with how to outline essay questions. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you soon.